Hey designers, have you ever felt like maybe your design work wasn't big enough? Or you wish it was more meaningful, it had more impact? Or maybe you feel like you're not doing the kind of work that you believe designers should be involved with? Yeah, I felt that too, and I know that feeling, and it can be extremely discouraging. But I've been thinking lately, what if it's just a matter of perspective? Hey there, I'm John Diallo, and I'm here to help you improve your design and creative abilities. Let's dive in. So the design industry has made a ton of promises and huge proclamations about what design is and how it functions and its world-changing impacts, and how really a designer's life is one of constant innovation. Big I innovation, huge innovation, like industry-shaking innovation. But I'm not quite sure that that's accurate. And I've been feeling a lot of pain and frustration around the work that I'm doing, feeling like it's insignificant, and the smaller iterative work isn't as important compared to the bigger, more revolutionary work that really designers aspire to, and really we kind of behold as the true kind of design. And for a while, I thought it was just me. I thought it was crazy, and I was looking around feeling like, I'm the only one who feels this way. Or maybe a few designers who are in my close network are the only ones feeling this pain. Then I came across 3 articles, and they kind of trickled out over the course of a year. And the first article was by Mark Hurst, and that article came out quite a few months ago. And then more recently, I saw an article by Peter Merholz. And then the most recent one was by Jesse James Garrett. And you will probably recognize these names if you're familiar with UX designers. These are some of like the original UX designers, the people who everyone looked up to and thought had it together. And yet every one of these had this sense of lament, the sense of unaccomplishment, the sense of frustration, disappointment. We're not doing what we thought we would be doing. And that's a bummer. But it was at that point when I realized, okay, this problem is far beyond me and my small network of people. This problem is actually pretty huge. This is actually an industry pervasive thing. And I really struggled for a while. And I thought maybe I had gotten into the wrong industry, or maybe I hadn't just cracked the code. And I thought for a while, maybe I should just give up. Maybe I should just forget UX design. Maybe I should forget design altogether and find something else to do. But I don't think that's the right answer. And then the reality of the situation sunk in. I read an article recently by a brilliant design leader named Hambeukers, and it really helped solidify things, and the Lego bricks of what was actually going on seemed to click into place. And the article was actually about design thinking and how the whole concept of design thinking is what's called over the hill, and the rate of people who's interested in that topic is actually beginning to decline. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that's probably something that I'm okay with and think that's probably for the better. But the slump of design thinking isn't actually what was important. What was important and monumental for my thinking was the Gartner hype cycle. This is a new framework for me and I'd never seen it, and this article introduced it to me. And it was at this point that everything sort of snapped into place. I began to understand why I'm feeling the way I am, and maybe why others are feeling the way they do too. The Gartner hype cycle explains the newness of a thing. So in true designerly fashion, let's diagram this out real quick. The Gartner hype cycle starts really with a discovery. It starts with some sort of impetus, something that actually is a spark. And the newness of a thing begins to climb, and it gains a lot of interest, and it actually hits a point where the expectations then peak. It gets very high, everyone's excited about it, and then over time we realize the reality of the situation. We realize that our expectations aren't quite what we thought they were. And that leads to a very sharp decline into what's called the trough of disillusionment. And this is where we begin to feel despondent, we feel down, we feel like, oh, this thing is not living up to what we thought it was going to be. I think maybe that's where I was a few weeks ago. I think maybe that's where some of the other industry leaders possibly could be as well. And maybe a lot of other designers go through this very same cycle on a normal basis. But we're not left in the trough of disillusionment. We actually reach a point of what's called enlightenment. We understand that there is still value in design and in user experience design. We understand that we can actually help people, and maybe it's not what we expected in the beginning, but it is still very helpful and impactful and valuable. And as we climb through that period of enlightenment, understanding where we actually fit and adjusting our expectations, we hit this plateau of constant, steady productivity. Over the past few weeks, I've climbed out of this disillusionment that I've been living in. And I began to climb more into this idea of enlightenment and understanding where UX design actually can fit. And yes, UX design is responsible for huge industry-changing results. We have done massive innovation on scales that we never could have imagined. But the life of a designer isn't constant big eye innovation, the kind of innovation that is industry shaking every day. In fact, we can't actually walk into every situation and come up with an industry changing, revolutionary innovation. You see, innovation isn't something that we can conjure up every day, especially big eye innovation. A lot of times, innovation happens in the combination of a very creative person in the midst of a very specific situation. And not every situation has all of the pieces necessary for big eye innovation. And not every person is equipped in every situation to make big eye innovation, even when those situations present themselves. Authors Adam Grant and Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi both look at this concept in their books. In Csikszentmihalyi's book, Creativity, The Psychology of Flow and Innovation, he talks about a person being highly creative, but the factors have to be in place for the kind of innovation that we expect. UX designers can't just walk into any situation and revolutionize an industry. They can't mass produce innovation. It simply doesn't work that way. The environment also has to have the pieces necessary to innovate. Adam Grant takes this one step further as he's exploring whether or not you can predict whether people are going to be innovators or not. And really, the research that he looked at showed that it's not necessarily the person, but it's the volume of work. And a person who has a high volume of work actually has a greater chance of being an innovator. And both of these points of data start to reveal this pattern that it's not necessarily the life of a designer to be a constant innovator. They should be thinking that way, they should be trying, and UX designers should always be striving to innovate and create new things and provide new value, but everything that we do isn't going to be a massive innovation. We have to make room for small I innovation. So what's the problem with small I innovation? Well, small I innovation doesn't generally bring huge industry-changing results. In fact, it often doesn't even revolutionize a single product or service. It is slow, methodical, important, more detailed work that is innovative and does create new experiences and new value, but it doesn't necessarily shift an entire product space. And that's okay. That is actually the job of a designer, to explore the space, for UX designers to look at the journey of a customer and to find those pains and find those gain opportunities and make something valuable out of them, to produce work that hits every one of those points. But that kind of work comes at a cost. Generally, designers are visionary and we want to see all the wonderful things that we could do. And we want to see them come to fruition. And building giant, brand new products from scratch is a very fast-paced, wonderful exercise. It feels incredible to be a part of that. And often it pays out very quickly. You see something going from nothing to an amazing product very quickly. There's a level of instant gratification there that we're trained to love in our culture today. But with the small I innovative work, it's smaller and really less impactful. But you don't see the kind of huge shifts with small I innovation. Because what happens over time is that as small I innovation builds up, its value actually compounds. One small I innovation leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and you see this compounding value over time. And that really is the crux of the issue. Is it instant gratification or is it delayed gratification? And yes, we're going to see churn rates and retention rates and conversion rates and NPS scores and all of the wonderful KPIs that we track in our products will improve, but we're going to have to wait for that value to compound over time. And that's delayed gratification. And for us, it's often very hard. For many designers, it's difficult because we want to see impacts now. Certainly, any design work should provide value now, but the kind of value that we often aspire to takes time. So I want to encourage you, keep going. Keep doing the work that you're doing. Find the connection between the work you're doing now and the future results you want to create. Continue to push, continue to see the value. Don't give up, and don't be disillusioned. Because without UX design, imagine the products we would have. They would be clunky, they'd be unusable, and eventually we would be out of a job because our services will fail. Our job as designers is to come in and to understand who our customers are, understand their journey and their pains and their gains, the jobs they're hiring us to do, and to solve for them. So, UX designers, let's put this fairy tale in its place. Let's always be on the lookout for big eye innovation and things that are going to radically alter product landscapes. and really the world for the better. But let's also live with an understanding that we don't get a chance to do that every day, but we do get a chance to innovate every day. And it might be small I innovation, and it might just be fixing one broken bit. We can still make it better, little bit by little bit. And eventually, when that opportunity presents it, be ready. And let's create some amazing products today. If you struggle with this feeling of insignificance in your work, I really challenge you to look at what you're doing, take a moment to reflect upon all of the work that you've accomplished over the past few months or even years in the product space you're in, and be thankful and be encouraged and look at the positive of what you've been able to do. This has been a difficult season for a lot of people. Being disconnected, COVID, jobs changing, companies going out of business, it's been really rough. And as my expectations have had to change over the past few months, really in concert with all of the other world problems that have been going on, it's been difficult. I'm going to admit it, it's been tough, but there's always a silver lining. So let's continue to look at what we can possibly do. Let's continue to keep a positive attitude and keep on building great experiences for people every day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you want to get more videos like this to help you improve, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to be notified when the latest content comes out. And if you're interested in continuing to grow and learn more, you can check out some of my other videos here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Keep staying positive. Go make something awesome.